He woke up that morning feeling an ache that no wealth could soothe. Michael had everything most people only dreamed of: money, status, a home that could swallow silence whole. Yet, somewhere deep inside, he carried a doubt that gnawed at him like a secret he couldn't shake. He loved Emma more than life itself. But lately, when she smiled, he found himself wondering if her warmth was for him, or for the life he provided. They had been married for 6 years. She had been there before the luxury cars, before the business deals, before the glossy magazine covers that called him the visionary of the decade. She had once told him that she didn't care about money, that she just wanted him. But as time passed and success grew, so did the distance between them. He noticed small things that most people would ignore. The way her eyes lit up more when he handed her gifts than when he held her hands. The way she seemed restless whenever he mentioned slowing down or taking a break from work. The way she avoided his gaze whenever he asked, "Would you still love me if I lost everything?" It wasn't paranoia. It was pain, the kind of pain that comes from loving someone too deeply and fearing that love isn't returned in the same way. Michael's company had just hit a rough patch, a minor one, a few bad investments, a delayed project, a rumor about a merger gone wrong. But instead of fixing it immediately, he did something no sane man would do. He decided to let the rumor grow, to let it spread like wildfire, to see what Emma would do if she believed the man she loved had lost everything. He called it a test. But deep down, he knew it was something darker, desperate plea for truth. That night, as they sat in their candlelit dining room overlooking the city, Emma spoke about a friend's new beach house. "Can you imagine waking up to the sound of the waves every morning?" she said, eyes gleaming. Michael smiled faintly. "Yeah, that sounds peaceful." "Peaceful," she laughed. "It sounds perfect. Maybe we should look into something like that." He looked at her, really looked, the way she spoke of the beach house, the way her hands danced in excitement, the way her eyes reflected dreams made of gold and salt water, and he thought to himself, would she still want to wake up beside me if the waves were gone and all that was left was silence? That night, when she fell asleep beside him, Michael stared at the ceiling for hours. His mind was a storm. Then, he made a call to his lawyer, to his financial manager, to his assistant, and by dawn, the plan was set. He would fake a collapse, a staged financial disaster. In 48 hours, Emma would believe they had lost everything. When the morning news broke, the headlines screamed his downfall. Tech mogul Michael Grant faces bankruptcy amid scandal. Investors pull out, Grant Industries crumbles overnight. His phone buzzed relentlessly. He ignored every call, except one, Emma's. "Michael, what's happening?" she cried as soon as he answered. "It's bad," he said quietly. "We lost everything." Emma. Silence. A long, cold silence that said more than words ever could. Finally, she whispered, "What do you mean, everything?" "Our assets are frozen. The company's being investigated. I don't know how much we'll have left." Another silence. Then she said something that pierced him like a blade. "So, what happens to the house?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "We'll get through this together." But what happens to the house? Michael felt the world tilt. He took a breath. "We'll have to sell it." There was a pause. "Michael, this is our home." It was Emma. That evening, he returned home early. The mansion, usually warm and filled with her scent of roses and wine, felt like a museum of fading memories. Emma sat on the couch, her phone in hand, scrolling, perhaps looking for answers, perhaps looking for someone else. He walked toward her. "Emma, I know this is hard, but we'll get through it." She looked up, her eyes tired. "You don't understand, Michael. We built a life. We had plans. What are we supposed to do now?" He wanted to say, "We still have each other." But the words felt fragile, like glass about to break. That night, she didn't sleep beside him. She slept in the guest room. And that was when he knew the test had only just begun. The next few days felt like walking through a storm that only he could see. Michael kept the act alive. The press releases, the fake lawyers, the calls staged with trembling voices. He had built empires with strategy and logic, but now, he was building an illusion with lies and heartbreak. He watched how the woman he once called the love of his life began to change, little by little. The first morning after the news, Emma didn't make breakfast like she used to. She didn't ask if he wanted coffee. Instead, she sat by the window scrolling through her phone again, her face a mixture of fear and calculation. "Any updates?" she asked. Not good ones, Michael replied softly. We're still being audited. I'll need to sell some of the cars to cover things. She looked up sharply. Sell the cars? Which ones? He hesitated, testing her. Probably the Bentley first. Her lips parted. The Bentley was her favorite, the one she always bragged about to her friends, the one that matched her designer handbags. Can't we keep that one? She asked. Maybe sell the older one instead. Michael smiled faintly, not out of amusement, but out of sorrow. He could already see the cracks forming where love used to be. That night, he overheard her on the phone. Her voice was hushed, trembling, but not with sadness, with fear. I don't know, Claire. It's all falling apart. Yes, everything. He says he's broke. A pause. No, I haven't decided yet. But I can't stay in a sinking ship, can I? Michael stood in the dark hallway, listening, feeling his heart splinter with each word. He had wanted the truth, and now, the truth was unraveling him. By the end of the week, the house was different. It wasn't a home anymore. It was two strangers trapped in marble walls. She no longer kissed him goodnight. She barely spoke unless it was about bills, logistics, or the future that suddenly seemed uncertain. Once, she had told him that money couldn't buy happiness. Now, it seemed that losing it had bought her unhappiness instead. A few days later, Michael told her the final part of the story, the big hit. Emma, he said, his voice trembling just enough to sound real, we're going to lose the house by the end of the month. Her fork froze halfway to her lips. What do you mean lose it? I mean the bank will take it back. We'll have to move. Her face went pale. Move where? Maybe to a small apartment downtown? Just until things settle. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she pushed the plate away and stood up. I can't do this, Michael. I can't. He looked up slowly. Can't do what? Live like this. Pretend everything's fine when it's not. I can't live in some tiny place, waiting for things to settle. Her voice cracked, not with sadness, but anger. Michael just sat there, silent, watching. Emma, he said finally, I need to know something. If I really lost everything, would you stay? Her eyes flickered. She hesitated for just a second, but that second felt like eternity. Then she whispered, I don't know. That was all it took. The next morning, she packed a bag. Not a small one, not just an overnight one. When Michael walked into the living room, she was standing by the door, suitcase in hand, her face blank like a stranger's. I just need space, she said, to think. He didn't stop her. He didn't ask where she was going, because deep down, he already knew. He watched her leave the love of his life walking out of their home without looking back. And when the door closed, so did something inside him. For the next 3 days, the house was silent. No perfume on the pillows, no sound of laughter in the hallway, no voice calling his name. He realized how terrifying silence could be when it was filled with memories. But on the 4th day, something unexpected happened. Emma came back. Her eyes were red, her hair unkempt. She looked like someone who had been through a storm. She walked into the living room, where Michael sat on the couch, surrounded by papers, fake debt notices, fabricated statements. I couldn't do it, she said quietly. I tried to stay at Claire's, but I couldn't stop thinking about you. Michael looked up, pretending to be confused. Why? Because I realized something. I was scared not because of losing the house or the cars, but because I didn't know who I was without all of it. You built this life for us, and I got lost in it. I forgot what mattered. Her voice trembled. I'm sorry, Michael. It was the first real thing she had said in weeks. He stood up slowly. Emma, I don't care if we lose everything, she whispered. If we have to start over, we will. I need you. For the first time in days, he saw tears in her eyes, not of frustration, but of truth. But even as he hugged her, guilt began to seep in, because what she didn't know was that everything she had feared was a lie. She was crying over a life that was never truly gone. And he was holding her, wondering if he had broken something sacred in the process of finding out the truth. That night, he couldn't sleep. He walked through the empty halls, thinking about what he had done. He had lied to the woman he loved, manipulated her emotions, tested her heart. And though she had come back, though she had said all the right words, he couldn't help but wonder, did she return because of love or guilt? But even as they sat together, laughing awkwardly over burnt toast, there was a weight between them, a quiet shadow of everything unsaid. He had gotten what he wanted, the truth, but at what cost? That night, he stood by the window watching the city lights flicker in the distance. He thought about revealing the truth. telling her it was all just an experiment, a setup. But every time he imagined it, he saw the hurt that would follow. He knew if she found out, she might never forgive him, and so he stayed silent. But the silence hurt more than any lie. Days turned into weeks. The world still believed Michael Grant had fallen from grace. Newspapers had stopped caring, his company remained under investigation, and the mansion still looked half abandoned. But inside, Michael's mind was the real battlefield. He had built a fake collapse to see the truth, and now that truth had built a wall between him and the woman he loved. Emma had changed. In a way, she was softer now. She cooked again, she laughed again, she even began selling her designer clothes online, a gesture that both broke and warmed his heart. One evening, she sat beside him on the couch, scrolling through photos from their early years. "Do you remember this trip?" she asked, smiling faintly at a picture of them standing by a cheap roadside diner. He nodded. "Our first anniversary, we had nothing then," she said softly. "Just dreams and a broken car. But I think I was happier back then." He turned to her. "Why?" "Because back then," she said, "we didn't need the world to know we were happy, we just were." Her voice cracked a little. "I lost sight of that, Michael. I think I let the comfort blind me." Michael swallowed hard, unable to respond. Every word she spoke was a knife twisting deeper into his guilt. She was rediscovering love while he was still buried in lies. The next morning, Michael went for a walk alone. The city was waking up. The sound of cars and chatter filled the streets. He passed by people in simple clothes, smiling, laughing, living. And he realized something. He had been so desperate to test love that he had forgotten how to live it. What kind of love demands proof? What kind of trust survives deception? He stopped at a small park bench and sat down, staring at his reflection in the screen of his phone. A man who had everything and yet managed to lose peace, chasing certainty. That evening, when he came home, Emma was in the kitchen. She looked peaceful, truly peaceful, for the first time in months. "Dinner's almost ready," she said. "I made your favorite." He smiled faintly. "Emma, we need to talk." She turned, concern flickering across her face. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. His hands trembled. "I need to tell you something. About everything." She frowned. "What do you mean, the bankruptcy? The collapse? The investigations?" Her eyes widened slightly. "It wasn't real," he said quietly. "None of it was." For a moment, the room was completely still. Even the soft hum of the refrigerator seemed to stop. I don't understand," she whispered. "I staged it, Emma. The financial crash, the lawyers, the news stories, it was all part of a plan. I wanted to see." His voice broke. "If you truly loved me, if you'd still stay when there was nothing left." Her lips parted in disbelief. "You lied to me? For weeks. Emma, please. You made me believe we lost everything. You made me feel that fear, that pain, and for what? To test me." Tears filled her eyes, but this time they weren't gentle. They burned. "Do you have any idea what that did to me?" she said, her voice trembling. "I doubted myself. I questioned who I was. I felt like I was drowning, and you stood there and watched." Michael stepped closer, desperate. "I needed the truth, Emma. I needed to know if you loved me or the life we built." She laughed bitterly, wiping her tears. "And what did you find, Michael? That love doesn't survive betrayal." Her words struck like lightning. That night, she didn't sleep beside him again. She packed her things quietly, not out of anger this time, but heartbreak. As she stood by the door, she looked back one last time. "I forgave you once for being too busy to love me," she said, "but I don't know if I can forgive you for testing the love that was still there." And then, she left. The sound of the door closing was softer this time, almost merciful. But it echoed louder than ever. Days passed, Michael didn't chase her, he couldn't. He knew she needed time, maybe forever. He went back to work, but the boardrooms felt emptier, the victories quieter. He learned how to cook his own breakfast, how to sit with silence, how to live with the consequences of curiosity gone too far. Months later, he received a letter. It wasn't fancy, just a small envelope with her handwriting on it. He opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a note that read, "You wanted to see my true face. Here it is, scarred, but still loving you from afar. Maybe one day we'll meet again without lies between us. Until then, take care of the man I once believed in." No signature, Just a single dried petal tucked inside from the rose he had given her on their first anniversary. Months later, Michael stood by that same diner where their journey had begun years ago. The place hadn't changed much. Still small, still quiet. He sat at their old table, ordered the same coffee, and looked out the window as the sun dipped low. He wasn't the same man anymore. He was humbler, softer, wiser. He had learned that testing love destroys it. That truth doesn't come from experiments, it comes from faith. And as he watched the sky turn gold, he whispered quietly to himself, I didn't lose her. I lost the part of me that didn't know how to love, right? Love built on fear will crumble under truth. If you need to test loyalty, you've already doubted love. Trust is not something you demand, it's something you nurture.